Did your last vacation house for the whole crew leave you wishing there was a better way to stay together? Like with bedrooms that are all great, so everyone thinks they got the best room?
Whoa! This is amazing.
A full bathroom in every bedroom?
Hey, mine's got a bathroom.
A beach around an epic, clear bay big enough for swimming, rope swinging, and even kayaking? All next door to Walt Disney World? Next trip, share a house at Evermore Orlando Resort. You won't believe what you resorted to before.
Dear McDonald's, your breakfast menu? Fire. 10s across the board. I could be happy with anything, even though I ordered the same thing every time. Thanks for not judging me. I'll try something new next time. Maybe.
Score a 2 for $5 deal on a sausage McMuffin with egg and more. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm looking for all the baddies all over the world. Ladies, where my baddies at? I'm bad, you bad. Way bad. Where my baddies at? I'm bad, you bad. Way bad.
Hi, thanks for joining me. Today I have a brand new guest. Her name is Sativa, and she is here to tell us a story that's very interesting and sad at the same time about how her mother just one day disappeared. So welcome to my show.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what year was it whenever your mother disappeared and what actually happened?
I don't have the exact year. It's around 84, 85, maybe, it's around that era, early 80s. I was young and my mom was running around with the wrong crowd. Before she disappeared, she was hanging around with the wrong people. And my dad told her she needs to stop hanging out with those people, get her crap straight in order to be in my life. So she says, okay, well.
And they were
before
divorced.
that- Yes, they were divorced because they were married and divorced in 1977.
Okay.
While my mother was pregnant, and they were divorced before I was born. So
Okay.
in that 9 months, they were married and divorced. So they didn't have really a long-standing marriage.
Okay.
So my dad and her had a good relationship, and it was always about me and my sister. My sister has a different father. Now,
Is your
my
sister older
mom-
or younger?
my sister's younger. My mom, before this had happened and my dad told her to get her crap together, she still come around and she was still, she was still showed her face in our lives and she was always there. My mom made it a point to come and see us every holiday, everything. If it said a holiday on the calendar, she was making an excuse to come see us to bring us a gift.
Okay.
I mean, as far as even Martin Luther King Day, Jr. Day, she would bring us a gift just as an excuse to come see us and bring us something. This went on for about 2 or 3 years after my dad had told her to get her crap together. I was just telling my son that one day, I can't remember what the holiday was, she had come over and she had brought me this fur coat. It was a bunny, like a rabbit fur coat.
Okay.
And it was really coarse and ugly as crap. I remember that. But she paid a lot of money for it and she was so happy. And it was the 80s. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. I tried to wear it a couple of times and it was just too fancy for us. For me anyways. So I always kept it. But then that was the last time I ever seen her when she gave me that jacket, that coat. So I always held on to it and it was always in a closet that was always there for me to remember. And then one day she just never came back. And so we started researching a little bit more. And my dad found out that my mom was talking about getting a job at the Red Garter State Line or Wendover, Utah, on the border. She ended up getting that job. And what happened is she contacted my grandfather. My grandfather said that he had picked her up with some unknown man. No one knows his identity, what he looked like. No one knows his ethnicity. No one knows anything about him. My grandfather picked him and her up, gave them a ride to the Greyhound bus station, and gave her a $50 bill, and she's wiped off the face of the earth from that day forward.
He just dropped her off with this man.
And the thing is, my grandfather and my mom never really had a close relationship. My mom was in and out of foster homes. He didn't have time for my mom when he was younger. He despised my mother's mother, I guess you could say, my grandmother,
Mhm.
because there was the 3 of them. the siblings that he treated differently. We actually have 12 siblings now. So they're the first 3 is my mom, her sister, and a brother.
Okay.
So all 3 of them, my mom disappeared. My mom's sister abandoned her 2 children, went to Washington, remarried, and started a new family, and then ended up getting killed.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. And so all this came upon, and when we found out she was killed, then so the 2 kids that she had here was a boy and a girl. They were the same age as my sister and I. And they were being raised by their father too. They had a rough life. My sister, our upbringing was okay. You know what I mean? But it's still, we needed our mom.
Everybody
And
needs
then
their mom.
for her just to disappear was really ironic because, like I said, we were her everything. She made some mistakes along the way. I mean, of course, making bad decisions in men, but she always made it a point to see us just for silly holidays. If it said a full moon on the calendar, she would think it was a holiday and come with a gift. That's just the type of mother she was. She wanted to be there all the time. Her just bad choice of men. She had really bad choice of men. She was dating a few men that were in and out of prison. One man she was involved with a lot, but she wasn't involved when she disappeared. He had just gotten out of prison for a different crime, but he was on the radar for a cop's murder here in Utah. They never actually had the evidence, but they knew it was him. That's a possibility they're thinking. Then there was another boyfriend of hers. She just had a really bad choice in men.
Mhm.
My dad was there for her and support her. But then when she just disappeared and not a sound, not a whistle, not nothing. And then I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. So between 8 and 9.
How did you know that she was missing? You thought that she went to this new place to get a job as a cocktail waitress, but did it take you're like, okay, well, I haven't heard from her. She hasn't called. She hasn't, the next holiday, like you said, came up and she didn't show up. How long did it take you to realize that she was actually missing?
My dad realized it. I was young. I don't really remember, but my dad realized that she was missing after he hadn't heard from her for a couple of days to call and check on me or see how I was doing. She would still call consistently, you know what I mean, and talk to us. And, I got vivid memories of her. It's just really silly. And the memories I have of her, I just remember her we were her world,
Mm-hmm.
And my sister's dad would always say, oh, she just left you guys. She didn't want you. She just went to go party. She just chose men over you guys. She's probably a drug addict or an alcoholic, blah, blah, blah. And she's living the life and you guys don't mean anything to her. And
But
so
you knew that you knew that wasn't true because of how she treated you and interacted with you whenever you would see her. Like you said, she'd try to come on any holiday excuse to see you. So she obviously loved and cared about you.
everybody badmouthed her and said she just left you. She left you. But my dad always stood in and said, there's absolutely no way that she would have left you girls.
Mhm.
If there's one thing that she would have done, she would have left this earth with us before she would leave this earth without us. So
Yeah.
we were her everything, and yeah, she couldn't financially take care of us. My dad was a good dad financially. He was willing to take care of me. And I mean, she was fortunate in that aspect. My dad always kept the door open for her. They would always hang out. We would watch movies and stuff. But my dad says, if you can't get your shit straight, then I don't want it around our daughter. It's your choice, if you want to make this change. And when she disappeared, my dad was like, no, this isn't right. My dad, he knew in his heart. I always felt that she's passed on my whole life. I've never really felt like she's been present, like she's abandoned us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if you had to guess, what do you think happened? What do you think happened if you had to guess?
Possibilities that I think from, and there's other things from her background. I hate to bring it up because I don't want to, but people are treating her as if she's not somebody that's worthy of looking for. She's a mother. I think she went to end up with this guy. And I think that the one possibility that my dad says this, I'm not going to say his name. I mean, he's dead now, but I think that he got wind that she went there with another man or something. And I feel like he may have went down there and brought her or maybe got her before she went out there. And I feel like he murdered her or she was
Your
murdered.
father did?
No, not my father. The man that we suspect, he was really obsessive with her, and he's the one that was accused of possibly murdering the cop.
I
And
see,
he was
yes.
out of prison in and out. He had a bad name. And the detective even asked me, she's like, what about this guy? And I said, I don't know much about him. She says he wasn't a good guy, but he's dead now. But I wish I would have talked to him and he's still alive because he might have some answers.
And
And
you
she
and
knew
you
that.
and you
Sorry.
don't know if that was the guy that she went to the bus station with.
The man that we're talking about, his name is Earl. He was married to either married or they had a relationship and he was violent with her, but he's the one that she left. And that's who my dad suspects
Yeah.
as well. I honestly feel like she may have met her demise between here and Wendover, or maybe she didn't even get on the bus. Maybe he's seen her at the train station. The thing is my grandpa, I asked my grandpa why he never reported her missing. And he says, well, she had a habit of just leaving and not coming back. It's like he made an excuse for it because he never wanted her around. You know what I mean? And that's what I felt. And he was the last one to see her. But the thing is, she disappeared in 84, 85, like I said. And my dad never reported her missing. All these years, they could have been looking for her.
So there was never a search for her where the community got together and was like looking through fields or forest or anything like that. There was nothing like that because no one officially knew she was missing.
We knew she was missing, but nobody cared. My dad cared. And
is it because of the area that you live in, or was it because it was in the 80s and it wasn't as big of a deal then or something? Or what do you think?
We live in Utah. My grandpa just had this resentment, you know? And I don't know, so whenever we asked my grandpa about it, he never had any answers. He never had answers. And then the funny thing is when my mom disappeared, my dad and I had a fight and my dad had sent me. And so I had a ponytail in my hair because my hair was long down to my waist. She got sick of listening to me cry. And so she slugged me in my face and my nose and smacked me in my mouth and threw me in a dark room and took my ponytail and cut it off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it was cut almost it was pretty bad.
This is your grandmother?
No, this was my grandpa's wife at the time. So she had done that and threw me in the dark room. I was in there for, I don't know, I guess it was just a couple of hours. And it seemed probably 12 hours being a young kid. I was just sitting there crying. When I initially got there, that's when all this happened. My dad started feeling bad. So he went back to my grandparents' house to pick me up. Well, he had seen what had happened and my dad went off on my grandpa. I didn't talk to my grandpa from that day on, not a word. About 15 years ago, my aunt reached out to my stepmom on Facebook looking for me, saying that my grandpa wanted to get a hold of me because he missed me and wanted to see me. My grandpa had a way to get a hold of me for the whole 35 years that he didn't. My grandfather's phone number, address was the same since my dad was 6 years old until my grandfather passed away in 2014. So there was absolutely no reason that nobody could have gotten in contact with me. My grandpa, we even kept his phone number after he passed on, just in case.
Somebody would call. Did anybody ever contact the bar or the cocktail lounge that she was going to supposedly work at to see if she ever made it?
Well, here's the thing is when I turned 19 or 18, 19, I just had this eerie weight on my chest. And I was just like, because before that, I would always sneak behind my dad's back and I would write all these talk shows and stuff. And There was many times when they asked me to be guests on their show. I couldn't because I was going behind my dad's back.
Yeah.
But I thought I was doing something wrong. Had I told him, he would have let me. But I think I was more scared. As a young kid, I wanted answers. So I would go and do these things. And then I was watching one of these talk shows and they said, I'm sorry, I think I'm going way off of what you asked me. I apologize.
No, it's
but
okay.
I was watching one of these talk shows and it mentioned that the Social Security Administration, when there is a missing person, if you know their date of birth, their last known address, and their maiden name, and general information that you can put, and you can write a letter to that person and put it in a separate addressed envelope, self-addressed envelope to yourself, and they'll send, or to Social Security, and they'll actually forward that letter on to the last known address to that person.
Okay. And did you do that?
So I did that. I waited it was almost a year. And then I got a letter back from Social Security that says that there is no known address on file. Last known address on file would have been like in 1970 something. So, and that would have been when she was in a foster home up in Orem. There's no recent activity on her Social Security number. There's no work. There's no address. So in 2002, I decided to file a missing persons report.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had filed a missing persons report, and I was like, I don't know what steps to take. It's been a long time, but I'm going to give you the information I've got. And so they opened a case, so on. Well, I am with my stepmom, and her and I have this wonderful relationship. And she's like, I'm just going to help you whatever I can. And I said, I just need to find her remains. I need to find where she's at so I can give her
closure as well, right? I mean, closure is so important.
Yeah, but there's never any closure, because then my mind's going to be like, who did this to her and why? And then my heart's going to be for that. There will
Yeah.
never be closure, but at least knowing that she's not. And that's what hurts. Even though I'm almost 50 years old, it still tugs and tugs on me. And I think without her, I've missed out on so much. I want to put it at rest, but when I filed the missing persons report, we were driving back home because we were just driving around, and I just called, and cop's like, okay. Well, she called me about 10 minutes after I made the report, and she says, she goes, I'm not supposed to do this. But there was last contact with her in 1998. Yeah, with her. Well, yeah, this is what she told me. With her identification, and this was the address where they had encountered her at.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
a twist.
it was a total twist. And so my heart just like stuck down to my stomach. And I was like, oh my gosh. My stepmom and I drove over there. And I just I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like I was going to faint. And all I could do is get up, and my legs were trembling. And I walked up to that door and I knocked. I just lost it, And I was like, my mom is this person, Vicki, and at Smock, last time she was seen here in 1998. I was, and I was like, and this was, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, sweetie, this house.
Oh.
They had just purchased that home from the previous homeowner just the year before. The previous homeowner had passed away, and they were the original builders and didn't have any information.
Wow. But that means she had a driver's license, though, in 1998.
But that's the thing is she's never had a driver's license. Sorry, it was an ID.
An ID, okay.
Yeah, but my dad said that there's no way. Absolutely no way. But she would have had to renew her ID, but there was no renewal on her ID. So if it was a valid ID from you know what I mean? That she hadn't renewed it according to the police. Maybe somebody had an ID with her name on it, and they were using her identity.
It could have been the original ID.
And there was an expiration date on it of 2000, but then they looked into it, and she doesn't have an ID.
Okay, so maybe it's just identity theft.
Yeah, but still, it was the lead, where it was at. My dad says, yeah, that was around the area where my mom would hang out and stuff. And my dad's like, but there is absolutely no way that she would have not seen you guys if she was here. And I believe that 100%. And I don't believe it was her, but the twist of it. So then I called down to the Red Garter at that point, and I was like, I need to get some answers. If I have to drive down to Wendover and go to every single one of those casinos and ask, I will. But the thing is they don't keep records longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
It's the IRS record holding that they basically keep. So
Yeah.
anything past 10 years, it's not database. It's basically destroyed because there's no sense in keeping it. So because it was so long, I filed the police report in 2000. Because it was so long, there would have been no way for me to track it anyways. The situation, they wouldn't have been able to give me information. It would have had to have been done through an investigator anyways. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm not even sure which casino. I just want to know if she ever made it here,
Yeah.
And just basically people are telling me, well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But if it were their family member, they'd have something to tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And has your
Sorry?
sister done, has your sister kind of done similar things where she's just gone and, or no, it's just been kind of you doing it on alone?
As far as another thing, my mom was abandoned as a young child with her 2 siblings, the 3 of them, like I was telling you. They were abandoned by their mother.
Mhm.
Okay. They ended up being left in the hands of my grandfather. My aunt abandoned her children, being left in the hands of her ex-husband, her children, her first children. And they assume my mother did the same thing. My sister has had 3 children. She chose a man, basically abandoned her 2 children.
Nice.
I took custody of them. I've raised them since they were 1 and 4. They're my babies. And I broke the cycle there,
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's a cycle with my mom, but I understand how people can say that. There's something that's not, I don't know. And like Detective Hillary, I don't remember her last name. I just call her Detective Hillary. She's the one that says, you know what? There's something not right with that story, and I don't feel right with it. Your grandfather was the last person to see your grandmother alive, and your grandfather was the last person to see your mom.
Do you think there's a possibility your grandfather had something to do with it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't say one way or another because it all looks suspicious and it all doesn't pan out. I'm getting stories from my younger cousins. They're like, I can't believe your mom did that. I was like, what did my mom do? They said that the stories are that my mom had abandoned my sister and I and left us in some apartment with no food or water for a couple of days until somebody came and found us. That never happened. My mother never did that. If anything, she took me to my father's house.
So what does your dad think about, what did he think about it at the end? What was his conclusion? Did he think something bad, like she met the wrong guy, or like what was his theory?
My dad and I believe that it was Earl that got, he somehow, come on, that he's somehow seen her or ran across her. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was another one of her past relationships. My dad believes she had passed away. That's why I believe it as I researched it more. That's the only conclusion I can come up with because from that day forward, nobody ever talked to her, seen her, nothing.
And
And
just find out, like if you found her remains, that would be a step forward for you just to kind of have, not, I don't want to say closure, like you said, it's never closure because you still wouldn't know what happened, but at least you would be able to know what happened. Because there's got to be a little bit of hope that you still have, right? That she's out there somewhere.
I know she's not. My heart of hearts tells me she's not.
Okay.
So my dad believes she's gone. I believe she's gone. I've never felt her as being present. Like, I don't know. I've never been like, oh, I know she's out there. I want to find her.
Yeah.
It's always, I know she's out there and I need to find her body.
Okay.
Like I've never, and the little pictures that I have on Facebook, those are the only pictures I have of her. I actually just got a more recent one that I posted, and her and I have such striking resemblance in that picture. I never even knew that I looked so much like her. And going back to my grandpa, when I had finally seen him after 30 something years, that was actually 10 years ago or 11 years ago now. We went to this barbecue and he didn't stare at my sister or anything, but then I would just see him at the corner of my eye when I was just doing stuff, and he would just stare at me, and I would look at him and he would have a tear rolling down his eyes, and I'd be like, Grandpa, what is wrong? Are you all right? And he's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. He goes, you just look so much like your mother. He goes, it's just unbelievable to me. And I was like, I do? Because I never thought I looked like her. I never knew who I looked like. Because the pictures I've had of her, none of them, I was like, I don't look like her. But the one good picture I got of her, I mean, I do. I'm like a split image of her, and I can totally see it. And then when I seen that picture, my heart just sunk to the ground. It was just a different feeling. All the other pictures, I didn't feel like they were the real her. It didn't glorify her as a person. But this last picture that I got of her, she looked so beautiful, and the picture was so clear and genuine. I just bawled, and it was the hardest I've ever cried, because it was like, that's my mom,
Yeah.
That's not these pictures that people have remade. This is her,
Yeah.
And she was still a baby when this all happened too, She was only 17 when I was born. She was only 22, 23 years old, and she had already been married 4 times.
Oh, wow.
She always just trying to find acceptance. That's how I see it. I think she was just trying to find love, and she just couldn't find it. And I just think she found it in the wrong hands, and somebody took her from me.
Somebody does have some information, or they know something. How could they contact you? Is there a website or a Facebook group or something that they could go to?
My Facebook group is Missing Vicki. I've got the sergeant's information on there with the case number. If anybody has any information, they can feel free to contact that sergeant. I put the more recent picture on there. Since I've spoken to you last, there's been a Jane Doe that's come across, and I'm waiting. She was a Jane Doe that was found in Las Vegas. Apparently, the person who sent it to me had contacted the Salt Lake City Police Department about it, because he or she felt like there could be a connection. You can read it on my page as well. It goes along with that. I'm just trying to go by what I remember. Yeah. Along the lines of, there's been several calls that it could possibly be Vicki.
They do a DNA test to see if it is her?
I'm waiting for the detective, because we're in NamUs, and unless we request the detective here to send it to Vegas to test it against a Jane Doe, it doesn't test it. I thought it was like a lottery that would rotate, and if DNA matches, it would stick like DNA and me or something. But no, it's not like that. If it's a possible match, they actually have to send in the request to test. So my DNA is in there. My grandfather's DNA is in there. I told my sister she needs to get hers in there too. They've got our DNA. Our DNA doesn't go in the system to match the Jane Doe's. The Jane Doe's have to come to our DNA to see if they're matched. It was heart-wrenching when I found that out, because I thought, oh, well, all these Jane Doe's, they've already been tested. It's none that's laying there that hasn't been identified, which is so far from the truth. I guess there was another Jane Doe found in a body of water around the time she was missing. And she had been saturated for so long. They didn't have bone structure.
Wow.
Like, to identify her, the only identifying things that they really had on her was skeletal, but there was jewelry. And so they were asking me, what kind of jewelry was she wearing? I was like, I have no idea. And I asked my dad's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I can give you an idea. I'm sure it was silver turquoise, There's no way to test DNA or anything on that Jane Doe. So
plus, it didn't exist back then either. If they did find her back then, there would be no way to do it.
Well, the one that we're going on Vegas was found in 1984. And they have DNA on her because she was found in water. It concluded that like all DNA was lost.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It just breaks my heart, you know? And my dad feels like she's gone. I feel like she's gone. I thought she's in between here and Nevada somewhere. So that one in Vegas, that could possibly be her. I'm sick about it. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go at this point. If it is her, the detective mentioned that they'd had a lot of calls, but something about the eye color, which is odd because even the picture on the flyer, the eye color is blue. My mother's eye color was green, but her and I's eye color was the same because mine are blue, but will turn green. They'll turn really green. It's not a subtle change. It's really drastic, but it's the light blue and then the light green. Like, and my sister's got the more hazelish features and hers stay one color. And according to my dad, my mom's eyes used to do the same thing. So they would go blue or green because of the contrast of our eyes. And mine are the same way. So when they say the eye color doesn't match, I don't feel like that's good enough. Yeah. Because my eye color, it shows blue on my driver's license. If you get me on a day, my eyes are green. So the eye color thing kind of threw me off too. I've been trying to call this detective. It's a sergeant on the case now. So I'm going to wait until Monday. If I don't hear anything back, I'm going to call back. And then I'm going to call Vegas next. I was on hold with Vegas for almost an hour for their police department to try to talk to them about this case. And then I called the Utah. So I think I'm going to probably get back on with Vegas and wait and see if I can get a hold of that detective again and then try to run it. But I'm just hoping for some answers one way or another.
I hope you do get answers. Like, I hope that you can at least get answers to something. I mean, obviously it'd be great to find her alive, but even if you could just find out, like, at least you know for sure that you found her remains, that would be a step forward.
Right. I would love to find her alive, but it's just kind of, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Your gut feeling is telling you that she's probably not.
And it has ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've never had the resentment that she left me. It was always, she always left against her will. I never felt like she left willingly to abandon us. I feel like, if anything, she would have stayed the furthest away from the abandonment side of things.
Yeah.
If that makes
But the
sense.
fact that she doesn't have an ID in her name and Social Security has nothing for her, it doesn't sound like she did abandon you. It sounds like she loved you very much because she wanted to see you as often as she could. I really appreciate you telling me your story. Can you tell me the name of the Facebook again? And I'll also put it in the description of the podcast whenever I launch it.
I'm not exactly sure what the exact name is.
I'll look it up. I have it on my phone and I'll put it in the description of the podcast. And that way anybody can go there if they have information. They can go there, they can contact you through that as well.
Yes, please. And then anybody else that would like to put her story out there, please reach out to me. I'm happy to.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything, even if it's the littlest thing, I wonder, do I have siblings out there somewhere? I wonder that too. But yeah, I need to find her. I found she's in the desert somewhere. That's what I felt like for years. That body in Vegas was found by an off-duty officer running with his dog in a desolate area and ran across her in a shallow grave. And it was around the same time that she disappeared in the 84 vibe.
Okay.
So they've had that Jane Doe since then. And so...
Well, I wish you luck. You never know. Maybe you'll get something from this podcast that somebody will reach out to you and that will be the answer you're looking for. I really hope you find out something. And if you find out something outside of this podcast, please get in contact with me. And I'd love to have you on to continue sharing your story.
Oh, I sure would. And I do appreciate you for reaching out. And again, thank you so, so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on. So everyone, please be sure to go in the description of this podcast, take a look at the link and see who Vicki is. And if you know anything about it, get in touch and let us know. Thanks for being on, and I will let you know if I hear anything as well.
Okay, thank you again for having me. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you
for
too.
all the baddies all over the world. Ladies, where my baddies at? I'm bad, you bad. Way bad. Where my baddies at? I'm bad, you bad. Way bad. Where my baddies at? I'm bad, you bad. Way bad. Where my baddies at? Yeah. Real bad on the prowl. Heard you was next, but I'm up now. Yeah, I'm shining like bling blow. And I see a couple haters in the crowd. low. Yeah, now back it up a little more. Yeah, now bring it up slow. You need a stage the way you putting on the show. Now grab your bestie by the hand and let her know she bad. Say grab a baddie by the